Hi everybody. Welcome. This webinar is being hosted by the Oregon Farmers Markets Association, or OFMA, OFMA. We support farmers markets with training, networking, advocacy, funding, and promotion. My name is Amanda Cross. I'm the programs manager here at OFMA. Also here is Kendra Graves, OFMA's communications and membership manager. You'll see her running today's chat window and also regularly in your inbox and OFMA's digital media. If you're not getting an e-newsletter from us every couple of weeks, let us know and we'll add you to the list. They have all our updates, job announcements, and resources for anyone running a farmer's market. You can also check out our event schedule online and see what's coming up next. We hope you'll register and join us again. Plus, we have recordings of all our past workshops in our YouTube library, and there's lots of opportunities through OFMA to connect and find support from the statewide farmers market community. So yeah, I'm happy to see this crowd gathering here. We've already started with some introductions. Thank you for popping in the chat to say hello. Before we dive in, just want to set some expectations with our time together. We're going to be here for about an hour and a half. And for cameras, totally up to you, on or off, whatever helps you feel comfortable and engaged. Our agenda today is set up in 3 parts. The first hour will be more presentation style. We'll hear from those with experience with ICE and making an effective plan for your market. The last half hour is in 2 parts and includes both some discussion time and small breakout groups and Q&A together with the full group. So there's lots of ways to be a part of the group today here, or be part of the group here today. You can type thoughts in the chat. You can use the hand raise feature when we open up for questions. Use emojis and reaction button to show how something resonates with you. Those quick reactions mean a lot to our speakers. It helps them know how their content is landing, especially because we're more of a cameras off group. It's nice to see some emojis and see how things are going. So just remember, being part of the group also means giving others time to respond and ask their questions too. So your engagement, however you choose to show it, is what makes this workshop so much richer for everyone. Now to introduce our speaker, Amber Orion. Amber is a community organizer with Rural Organizing Project and the Hood River Latino Network. Their experience in immigration and rapid response will help us identify what ICE activity looks like and when it might occur, and guide us in making plans, and help in establishing your allies and support, and show you how to support your community beyond market day. So with that, hi Amber, please introduce yourself and let's get started.
Hello, everybody. Welcome this morning. Good to see everybody's face. My name is Amber, and I use she and they pronouns, and I work with Hood River Latino Network here in the Columbia River Gorge, which is also a field office of Rural Organizing Project. I run our local and regional rapid response teams in the Gorge, and I've been doing that for the last 10 years. I also travel around the state and help other folks set up rapid response networks. Yeah, and I'm really excited to be here and really grateful for the invitation to come and talk with y'all. We've got a lot to talk about today. We will go through some of our slides. We'll go through a little quick, but I really want to make sure there's room for questions and clarifications as we talk about all these issues. I also really want to encourage folks that because we are talking about tough subject matter, although I don't think we're going to dive in too terribly deep, but if something's feeling wonky or overwhelming, please feel free to take a moment to step away, take a breath, stretch, get a glass of water, and take care of yourselves as we talk about these things. All right. And we've still got a few more minutes left, I think, right, before we get started, or are we wanting to?
No, you can go ahead. So
okay.
Do you need the next slide ready for it?
Great. Yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, this is just a reminder that in all the things that we do, as many of you well know at the Oregon Farmers Markets, that community is what keeps us safe, and community is, where we find all of our best connections. And a reminder that, especially in this society that we live in, that the truth is that we belong to each other. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. We're going to start with learning a little bit about how ICE is operating currently. I know that, we have a lot of information historically, but working this year in this working with this regime or through this regime has been really challenging, I think, for many of us. So we're going to talk about how ICE is operating currently, how to identify them when they show up in your community, um, and really how we can work with our communities, not just for our communities, but with our communities to get prepared and protect each other in these moments. We've got some tips and tricks, making some connections. We do have rapid response teams all around the state. So I'll talk about that a little more, but I really encourage you to make connections with folks in your community doing this kind of work to see how we can build in each individual area. Go ahead. Some things that we are not going to do today. We are not going to solve immigration issues. Unfortunately, those are so much bigger and have been for a long time. We also are not going to talk about individual cases. So while I encourage questions about things that are happening or issues that you're concerned about, I really encourage folks to be careful about sharing individuals' stories that are not your own. And we will not be giving legal advice because I only play a lawyer on TV. I am not one in real life. And we are not going to save the world because we are not heroes, but we are community and we really truly do belong to each other. Okay, and then this is a really important one. I like to take a moment before we dive into the logistics of it all, and remind everybody that in this type of work, just like when we're talking about like LGBTQ issues, we don't out people. So if we know people who are undocumented, no, we don't. That's information that if that's given to us or shared with us, we get to hold that as private, sacred information because that's information about people that can really affect their lives. And so we encourage that when folks know that information, they keep it sacred. They don't share even with trusted folks unless there's a specific reason and you have consent to share those stories. And then we also encourage folks, not even when we're dealing with this kind of stuff, that we don't ask that information. Just like we don't ask people if they're pregnant or ask people if they're queer. We don't ask people if they're documented or not, because that's something that people will share with us if they feel safe with us. And I encourage everybody to just reflect and think about how we can make ourselves safe people so that people feel comfortable sharing those pieces of themselves with us. And also to never assume folks' status. Okay, we can go on to next. Does anybody have any questions about those pieces that we just went over real quick? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to get into what's going on and what we can do about it, and what we're seeing. So this is just a quick map. This actually was taken, this snapshot was in July of this year, and this is showing us how much increase in ICE activity we are seeing state by state just in the first 6 months. So the difference between January 1st, 2025 and July 1st, 2025, these are the percentages. And as you can see, in Oregon, we have increased more than 300%. Now the numbers have jumped even more from July 1st until, what are we at now? September 10th. So I would say that this is closer to 400% now. There's a lot less oversight and a lot more aggressive and violent behavior on behalf of ICE and those who are working on behalf of federal government for this agenda that they have. And now that we know that the big, pardon my language, but I call it the big bullshit bill, has passed, there's a lot more funding for folks to continue this kind of activity in the community. So I know that we're all very worried about our friends, neighbors, and family members. So let's talk a little bit about with these numbers and what they're doing, what we can do. Let's go to the next slide. So before we get into the nitty gritty of identifying what ice looks like and things that you may see, I wanted to start with a video. It's just about a 2.5 minute video. Although it is hard to watch, there's not violence like we see in other videos. And I just want to give that heads up to folks so you know. This is a video that was taken in 2017 in Washington County. And there are some really important pieces in this video that I'd love to hear some feedback after you all watch. But let's go ahead and take a look at kind of what ICE looks like and what is happening in this situation, and also what folks around the situation are doing and how they're doing it. So let's go ahead and start with this video.
The van behind the red car is the ICE car. And someone from another car just got to them.
Sorry, this video is about 20 seconds longer than the one I have in there because this little walking spot, but we'll pay close attention to the things that she says, the people that are involved, and the cars.
Of a black truck where some people from the courthouse are walking up to their truck. The woman in the purple jacket, I had seen her coming out of the courthouse. Do you have a warrant? Do you have a warrant?
Do you know this person?
Are you with ICE? Do you have a warrant for arrest?
Which?
Do you have any identification? Do you have any identification that you can show them?
So this.
Excuse me, ma'am. Please step back.
Picture right here.
Do you have any identification that you are showing them?
Bitch, please. Bitch, please. That is not my husband.
Do you have no? Do you have?
You are not. You are not.
Who are you? Who are you?
You are not part of the court. We do not know you. Please back away from my husband.
Yes.
Please back away from our car before we call the cops.
Yeah.
Before we call the cops.
Are you getting your gun?
Please get out of here.
Does
That is not my husband.
anybody have any ID? Does anybody have a warrant?
No. No, you don't need to show anything to this bitch.
We
need to
have
go.
1, 2,
We need to
3,
go. We
4,
need to call
5
police. Hi,
agents.
please. These random
We have
people
3
are
cars.
approaching us.
They're
And asking my husband for his identification. We have no idea who any of these people are. We literally just walked out of the courtroom and we're being approached right now. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
This is absolutely ridiculous. We don't
Guys,
know
go
any
home.
of these people.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get
Nobody
the
wants
fuck
to hear.
out of here, you son of a bitch.
There's that one. That. That one.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
What did they ask you?
Take a picture
They
of
a-
all of
this
these
woman asked my husband what his first and last name was, asked him for his ID, showed a mugshot to him, and told him that that was him. It was not even the same picture. Who the hell is she?
Did they follow you out of the court?
Yes,
Apparently.
they were in the same. They were
I was
there
wondering
near
why
us,
she parked
and then
right
we
here.
came out of
I
the
had no
courtroom and she
idea, but
followed
then-
us. I don't understand what's going on.
Well, we think they're ICE agents.
How long before I see results?
Oh, goodness. 1 second. Let me get rid of that all the way. Okay.
I can bring
Am
your,
I no longer? I'm no longer sharing, correct?
and I can bring your slides back.
Okay, let me get rid of that. Perfect. Okay. Thank you for your patience on that. I'd love to hear any feedback. What did people notice about that? The folks that were involved, the vehicles, the people, the interaction, things that were done and said, anything at all. Feel free to drop it in the chat, or if you want to speak up, take yourself off mute and speak up.
It's difficult for me to understand who is who when I'm looking at the video on a phone. So I was just focusing on the voices. And I'm not clear how many defenders there were. I know there was a couple who were the focus of the ICE people, and they narrated how many ICE people there were. And did they actually drive away soundlessly?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They got in their cars and they drove away.
But this is 2017, and that's different.
Correct.
Okay.
Definitely. Things have changed. Go ahead. Okay, let's see. Yep, the ICE agents don't have anything identifying them, no official cars, no uniforms. That's a good point also, Delicia, that I'm not sure if I'm saying, am I saying your name correctly? Yeah. Delicia? Okay. Always coming in larger groups, very intimidating. That's a good thing. Did you notice that? Because that's often how they operate. They'll come in multiple folks to surround somebody. Let's see what else. I know I'm missing some let's see. Chaotic. Yep. Definitely unmarked. And if you notice, if we were to go back, all of those plates were Oregon plates, local plates. What else? Let's see. It was very chaotic. It was hard to tell. And when people aren't in uniform, it's hard to tell who's friend and who's foe in that situation, isn't it? And I also bring that up because I want to mention, like, it's important to consider when you're at the market, who's walking in and out of your market. Sometimes it can be hard to tell if folks aren't in uniform, if that person is coming to purchase produce or if they're there for another reason. Let's see, come in like a cult. It was, yes, bystanders stepped in and tried to help. And now they are kidnapping people without warrants. I actually want to make a comment on that. Thank you, Nikita. And yep, they backed down eventually. That's exactly it. Being persistent, being vocal. They get intimidated. They come in big groups because they are cowards. They did ignore the questions about ID and they did ignore the warrants. That's absolutely true. It's still important that we ask for those things, and we'll dive a little deeper into that because there are ways that sometimes things can be overturned after the fact, which is not the best case scenario, but it still can be very helpful. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about things that we use today to recognize ICE. Tactical vests are one. While ICE does not wear uniforms, you will not see ICE in a uniform like you will see a police officer. You will see them often wearing plain clothes and then either being armed and or having a vest on. And it's the vest that confuses people. The vest will often say things like are listed here: DHS for Department of Homeland Security, HSI, ERO. ERO is enforcement removal. No, excuse me. Enforcement removal operations. It's an early morning. Homeland Security investigations, federal. We'll also see them just simply say police. Sometimes ICE, rarely. Usually it'll just say police. And with what's happening currently with them deputizing folks in other agencies and bringing in bounty hunters, a lot of these pieces are coming from Amazon. Face coverings, they don't like to be identified. Again, they're cowards. And they like to arrest people very, very, very quickly. And that means time is of the essence. And then plates. If you see a plate that is a state plate, you can almost be positive that it is not going to be ICE. And I say that because Oregon is a sanctuary state. So per our sanctuary law that we voted in 1987 and reinforced later on in 2021, I believe, we cannot put any public funds or resources towards federal ICE enforcement. So our local folks should not be working with them. And I say should because we're seeing things change. And so that's a whole nother thing. If you do see them in there together, that's a reportable thing. Typically, if you see an E, like a yellow Oregon plate with an E at the beginning, that's not going to be ICE. Even if you see federal plates, I would be less concerned. The one thing that's not in here that I wanted to make sure that I name is we're seeing a lot of DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, doing drug busts and picking up bystanders. So that is something to be aware of if you see DEA vests as well. Okay, next one.
Amber, there's a quick question just asking you to clarify about the plates. Does that go for all state plates or just Oregon plates, or what do you mean by state plates?
That's a great question. So because Oregon is a sanctuary state, I would say Oregon plates. I know it's true for other states, but I don't have like other states that are sanctuary states. But I know for sure that with Oregon specific, if they're Oregon state plates that look like they are professional, like folks who work for the state, those are ones that I wouldn't be too worried about. So if they're regular license plates that are from Oregon State, yes, that we can worry about. But if it's like state government plates, that's the word I was looking for, state government plates for Oregon, those we don't usually worry about because we can't use those resources to work with federal immigration authorities. If you ever do see a situation that has to do with ICE and you do see a state plate, immediately report that. And we'll talk about some of the lines that we can report to in just a moment.
Sorry, and people are they're just wanting to really clarify this in their minds. Government plates are safe, correct? Like you're talking.
Yes, they should be. I can't give 100% guarantee, but as a whole, they should be safe. And when we see government plates, we usually back off and think, okay, that is not going to be the case when it's Oregon state government plates. I don't see the chat right now. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Were there other questions about the plates? And there are PIRC, which is Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. And although they're based in Portland, they are statewide. We keep photos when we have interactions and confirmed cases where ICE has shown up. We keep photos. So we do have a database of information that we can check back on. So when you're calling to report things, that is part of what they are looking into as well, including sharing things that you all share if you take pictures and share them with PIRC. Okay, next. There we go. This is where we were talking about unlikely to be ICE. If they're in a uniform, almost never going to be ICE. So if you see like a patch on the arm, it doesn't mean it's 100%. It's just, okay, let me take a step back, especially in the clarification. If you see somebody in a uniform with a patch, it's okay to still investigate and see what's going on because you might see other agencies show up in those uniforms, but an ICE uniform is something that we don't see. Only those tactical vests with plain clothes. Any marked vehicles, so vehicles that say Department of Homeland Security, although I know we just talked about vests that say Homeland Security, the DHS vehicles are likely not to be ICE. That is not for sure. It's okay to keep an eye, but it often is not going to be ICE because the Department of Homeland Security does many things in our country and actually even does like investigations at Social Security. And like, so there are other reasons that they will be around as well. Local police are not supposed to be working with ICE, so it is very uncommon. The one place that we're starting to see sometimes there be an overlap, and we're looking into this, and I mean just the last few weeks, is DEA. So when you see DEA, we have seen local folks and local police and ICE at the same location. Most of them are trying to say that once they know ICE is present, they leave. But I just say that to say, if you see DEA in your area, I would be concerned. If you see one officer, like in the video we saw, they usually show up in groups of at least 4, usually more. And we have not, like we talked about with the plates, we have not been seeing them use Oregon state plates or even federal government plates at this point. And this last one, I don't want us to count on, just to be aware of. So far, we are not seeing pickups in the evenings. That doesn't mean that they can't start doing that. One of the reasons that they do that is because when they pick people up, they typically process them through Portland at the McAdam facility and then take them up to Tacoma. And the later they pick people up, the less likely they are to have a place to house them for the night. And since Oregon is a sanctuary state, we don't have places that they're supposed to be holding folks anywhere in our state. And because Oregon we don't allow private prisons, we do not have an ICE detention facility at this point. And I hope that we keep it that way. We have for the last 40 years. Okay, we'll go to the next. So this is just a quote from a magazine, but we're going to go into some ideas, or excuse me, some pictures of what ICE and their vehicles look like, just like that video we watched. And this is how they're talking about it even in the mainstream. ICE agents are now dressed in what could broadly be described as drop-shipped norm corps. That's a new term for me. A kind of algorithmically influenced masculine mishmash of the kind of high-crowned baseball hats, tight graphic t-shirts, open plaid button-ups, slim stretch denim, jeans or cargo pants, and anonymous walking sneakers or trail shoes. So these guys back here, and we'll go into some other ones here. So when you look at this, I'm going to be quiet for about 60 seconds, and I want each of you to take a quick look at this. Who jumps out at you? Who in these pictures do you think are ICE agents based on the information we just shared? And I just want you to either in your head or write down real quick the letters that correlate underneath with each person that you think are ICE. I'll give you all about 60 seconds and then we'll move on to which ones are and are not. And this is not a test. This is just seeing what we are picking up. Okay. All right. So, Amanda, we can move on to the next slide. And I'd love for you all to take a look when we pull this up at what is listed here. And I'm not sure, can everybody here see the bottom of the bottom line underneath the bottom row of folks? Okay. I just realized that might be an issue. Okay. So as you all can see, C is ICE. F is also ICE. And then on the bottom row, I, so the second person in, and J, which is the third person in, so police ERO. And then this one that says police HSI, those are both ICE. And then at the very end, the woman with the police vest on, that is also ICE. So we have 3 on the bottom and 2 on the top, just to give you an idea of what ICE looks like. So you'll notice, so that was a great question. That this number, let's see, this letter K, that person looks like military police. Then we've got local police. As L, M is actually, it looks like forest ranger folks. And there is a lot of confusion. We actually, because the vehicles look like they have similar colors to Customs and Border Patrol, which we actually will see in some areas in Oregon and not others. A lot of people think Forest Service are in fact CBP or ICE, and they are not. And then up top, it looks like A is just a guy that's running. B is just a person walking out of a store. Same with D, they've got a badge on, but they're not actually. All the folks on top are just folks in the world, excuse me, that are not ICE. C and F are ICE. But see how they kind of look, other than C with this big, huge mask that covers up the entirety of this person's face in the form of a flag, there's not much else that identifies them. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to some vehicles real quick. So here we've got a similar thing. I'd love to hear, or excuse me, I'll give you guys, this time I'll give you about 20 seconds and just, I want you to take a look at the things in the car, license plates, and tell me if there are any that pop out to you and say, I really think this is ICE. Anything pop up for people that you're feeling like are like, oh no, that's definitely ICE? Okay, let's move on to the next slide. We'll take a look. There are 4 vehicles here that are ICE. Here, there we go. So B, this looks like a regular old minivan or SUV. I can't quite tell from behind. And although they do not have a specific type, I will say that in my experience, we see a lot of Dodge. We actually see a lot of, not only, but we do see a lot of what they would American-made vehicles, so Dodge, Ford. But that's not a rule. That's just often a common thing. Things that I wanted to point out here are in this first one, you see bumper stickers. We don't see bumper stickers for ice. So that's usually a clear sign that it's not going to be ice. If you see a truck that has, what do you call the things in the back that sit back in the back of the, I don't have a truck. The like chests, the boxes in the back, or any kind of thing that kind of, oh, I'm losing my words. When you like specialize a car, I don't think that's the word. But when you add things to make it your own, those kinds of things like lifted trucks, we don't often see as ice trucks. That could change, but we've not seen that. We see typically just vehicles that look completely unmarked and that you wouldn't notice if you didn't see them doing something. The yellow plates with the E at the beginning, that's a state plate, not them. Some of these are not ice and they're just regular vehicles that look exactly the same as other ones that are. And that's the hardest part of identifying ice, is knowing what they're driving and how they're dressed. Aftermarket modifications. Thank you. I knew there were words for it and I couldn't think of what they are. Thank you, Hannah. All right, let's move forward. Okay, so now we're going to get into steps and we're going to start here, but then I'm going to break them down one by one. And what I'd love for everybody to do right now is to take 30 seconds to pause. If you can, those of you who are driving, please keep driving safely. And I would like you to program this number into your phone. This number is the hotline to call if you see ICE anywhere in Oregon. This is Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. They started in Portland years ago, and they've been doing this work a long time. They have expanded to be fully statewide and are working closely with another organization called Oregon for All, which is a coalition of folks who work in immigrant justice throughout the state. PERC runs the hotline, and even with local rapid response networks and regional, this is an all-in-one. So if you have a local number to call, that's fantastic. If you do not have a local number to call, or you do not know the local number, call this number and they will dispatch to each local area. For example, if you are in the Columbia River Gorge, which is where I live, and you call this 888 number, they will then dispatch to me and I will then get the rest of our team on the incident. And that's how we can quickly respond to these moments. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide while you're, there we go. So on the clear, this is going to be in the links for folks in email so that you can print these out. You can also go to Oregon for All to get these cards. You can also join Oregon for All. If your market or your organization wants to join Oregon for All as a business or organization, there is a way to do that if you go to the Oregon for All website, and then you can get updates and additional trainings. For now, if you are reporting something, we want folks to be clear with their communication. So this is the acronym, and we have this also in Spanish, and in Spanish it's Clara, and we're looking at the count, how many folks are there, how many vans are there. The location, where exactly are they? And I know for a lot of us in rural spaces, it may not be as simple as Southeast 2nd and Morrison in Portland. It might be right in front of the movie theater or on the side of the market that faces the bakery, or, you know what I mean? So knowing that and being able to give that information, and also trying to figure out the actual locations of the streets is helpful. But either or, as long as we've got something to send people to, that's very helpful. The equipment that they're using, especially if they're armed, what their vehicles look like, if they're wearing vests, that kind of stuff. Activity, what they're doing in that moment. Are they walking around asking people for IDs like it's listed here? Are they focused on one person? Are they stopping people on the side of the road? And then the time and date. So when you saw them. Often we get calls that are like 5 minutes ago, I saw. So just being very clear with that information and to share those facts. And we really ask that people call this line first before calling everybody in their community. And it's not because we don't want people to know, it's because we don't want to panic people if it is not a situation that needs to be responded to. And we will quickly get that information out. If you have a local rapid response team that you have a relationship with, calling them is also great. But we encourage people to call at the beginning and not after somebody is picked up, because we can send folks out to take a look at the area. Okay, go ahead and go next. All right, now, recording. You absolutely have the right to record police. That includes ICE. Legally, you have the right to record. As long as you are allowed to be where you are, you can record. And what we mean by that is, if you're walking down the street recording somebody and they walk into a private home, you cannot follow them into the private home legally. If they walk into a business or another place that is public, you absolutely can follow them in there and continue to film them. Always make sure that you're recording openly so that they know that you're recording. And and then we'll go on to the next one. I was going to give some tips and tricks, but I'm skipping ahead on myself. There we go. Tips for recording. As we saw in that last video, the phone was held up like this. And a lot of us do that because this is the orientation, how we read our phone and how we hold our phone. However, as you've noticed in many videos we see online, you'll often see that like grayed out area behind where you kind of see background happening because there's nothing happening when your phone is like this. When you turn your phone like this, you suddenly get to see a lot more than the sky and the street. You get to see everything that's happening around you, and it includes some peripherals. And typically when we're looking at situations like this, we need that: cars, people, etc. Narrating. The woman in the video was narrating, and that was good because there are things that we miss when we're looking through a video, kind of like when you try to take a picture of the moon. It doesn't look the same as when we see it with our eyeballs. So as you're going around seeing things, she was saying there's 4 people. She mentioned the gun that the person was putting in his. I love the way, that's one of my favorite parts, because it's like that mom voice. Are you getting your gun? But naming that, like the gun was there, how many people, what the vehicles look like, who was in front of you. That's always really important to make sure that if there are things popping up, to say them out loud so the people watching the video can pick up on those. Move slowly, which is really hard because there's a lot going on and our eyeballs dart around very quickly and take in information. But in a camera setting, it takes a lot more to understand what's going on around you. So go slow and steady to the best of your ability. Okay. All right. This is the fun part where you get to be really creative. So when we're going in here and let's say we found people, we understand something's going on. We don't actually know what's going on yet. We think it's ICE. We're not sure. Ask questions. Remember, the people who ask the questions hold the power. And when we're dealing with ICE, that is something that's really important to try to hold on to, because they try to intimidate and terrorize communities. So ask questions. And I encourage folks to practice this at home, because if somebody asks a question back, responding with another question is a practice. It's an art. And we do these in our in-person trainings. And it always ends up in giggles because people realize how difficult it is to continue responding with questions, because we're trained to answer questions and solve situations and not respond with further questions. So asking, is everything okay? Do you need help? And then get creative. Do you want a Kleenex? Have you seen a guy in a green hat? Do you know where the best coffee is? Imagine an ICE officer is trying to talk to somebody and you're just there going, I got new socks. Do you want to see my new socks? I can dance. Do you want to see me do a spin? Turn into a toddler. Turn into a 7-year-old that wants to show you every cool thing that they just figured out today. Be annoying. Be obnoxious as possible. They don't like anybody paying attention to them. They don't like to be bothered. They get annoyed and overwhelmed very easily. The other thing you can do is call other people in. Hey, did you see this over here? She's got a puppy over here. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, is that a fire? Something to get people's attention that's not horrific, but will get their attention. And you can get really creative. In our sessions, I actually encourage folks to, let's move on to the next slide as I do this, sorry. There we go. Oh, no, see, I did jump ahead too quick. I encourage people to also get creative. And although these are a little bit out there, I want us to remember that in these moments when we're trying to be obnoxious and step out of our comfort zone, the person in front of us that may be dealing with ICE has a lot to lose in that moment. They might be kidnapped in the next couple of minutes and not be able to see their family again. And we may not be able to track them, depending, especially with what's going on currently. So I encourage you to do things out of your comfort zone. And I tell people things like, maybe you're like, you know what, I really have to pee right now. So I'm just going to do that. And then just squat and pee, which sounds crazy, right? Like that sounds absurd, but it will make them feel uncomfortable. And likely the worst that's going to happen to you is you get a ticket at the very most. More than likely, they'll get really uncomfortable and leave. You could flash them. You could turn around and do a little dance. You could do anything to just make them feel uncomfortable. I know that sounds nutty, but what I want us to think about is what are the consequences for us in that moment versus the consequences for the other people in that situation. And if we have a certain level of privilege that we get to use it, because it could mean the difference between that person being able to go home at the end of the night or not. So get creative with all the ways that you want to do that and come up with ideas in your markets ahead of time. So that way, when it comes up, you're like, all right, time to enact the nutty ideas that we've come up with. Okay. Now, if you do know it is ICE, keep asking questions. Make sure to ask, like in that video, what is your name? What agency are you with? Do you have a warrant? Do you have any ID? Why are you questioning this person? And remember, what they say is not as important because ICE lies. They're allowed to lie. They do lie. They lie all the time. And often, as we see currently, they just ignore you. Keep asking. Be obnoxious. Be the thorn in their side. We want them to go away without taking anybody. That is the ultimate goal. Okay. Okay, so if somebody is taken at the end, read out know your rights information. Remind them that they do not have to speak. They have the right to remain silent. Remind them that they do not have to share any information. Here, I was going to give you back to these. Oops. Here we go. They don't have to give any information. Oh, I don't have them. Usually there's not a door at this point because we're in the middle of a market. So that's not, but you don't have to answer questions. Do not sign anything. And ask for a lawyer. That's the biggest thing. Do not sign anything. Ask for a lawyer. They will lie to you about the things that they're handing you to sign. You will sign something thinking it's one thing and it'll be another. It could be an order to self-deport. It could be saying that you've done something that you haven't done. And if you, as a bystander, are picked up, same applies to you. I would invoke your right to stay silent unless you feel differently, and I would ask for a lawyer. You can also sing. We're going to show you at the end a Know Your Right song in Spanish, so you could sing that song if you'd like to get them to remember it. Songs and rhyming helps people remember things. And most important, get their name. I know that it seems counterintuitive when we say don't say things out loud, but if we don't have their name, we can't find them. And we can't find the people that they're related to let them know what's happened. So we need at least their name. And if they have a phone number that they can call out, write down that phone number, because those are the two things that are going to help you figure out who they are, get lawyers connected to them. And we report that immediately to PERC so that they can jump on that and get folks into them ASAP. Okay. Next. All right. Now, these slides are a little bit deeper, but I leave them like this because I really wanted to give you folks, normally I don't list out so much on a slide, but I want you folks to have this so that these are things you can think about going into building your network.
Sharon, did you have a question that you wanted to ask right now? Or do
please.
You want to wait?
I was just kind of recognizing the conflict between the trying to remain silent, but then also giving your name and a contact number. Is that going to ever endanger that person? I mean, I guess, they have to give their name at some point, or that was a concern.
Yeah, so what we've realized is that at the end of the day, most likely they know who the person is. I mean, if they're racially profiling and kidnapping, they may not, but they most likely already know who the person is. And also, if we don't have their name, we can't find them. We have to be able to connect with them. So the risk benefit to have the name is it's just better to have that, because then we can get a lawyer to meet with them within 24 hours typically and see if there's anything we can do with their case. We have, because if somebody leaves and they don't give their name, then we've just lost somebody in our community and we don't even know where to start with connecting with them. Now, if the person being picked up is with somebody, obviously, sometimes we don't have to do that if that person knows them well, because then we can talk to that person in the situation. But if they are by themselves, we do need their name. If we don't have a phone number, that's fine. It's just helpful to notify families. That's a great question, though. And I know it does definitely fly in the face of saying, don't say anything. Okay, so let's get into building your network. And I'm going to kind of run through these because these aren't questions you're going to answer today. These are questions for you to take home and consider so that you can start building this. And I am around to help any of y'all. And we have a lot of folks on our teams to help y'all if you're as you go forward in doing this. And each market is going to want to do different things. So please feel free to reach out. I put my email in the chat, and I know that Amanda and Oregon Farmers Market Association has my contact information as well. But here are some questions to start asking. Is there already a local rapid response network in your area? If there is, reach out to them. They've got resources. It's also great to have a relationship with them, so that way you know when and how to connect with them when things pop up. And I keep saying when, because this is no longer an if. These things will come to all of our communities. This is happening. Unfortunately, authoritarianism has taken over fully. And after the Supreme Court decision on Monday, we only see that this is going to continue to grow and get worse. So check in with your local folks if they have a group. If you're not sure if there's a group and you can't find one easily, which happens because we're not all over the internet, check in with Oregon for All or PERC. Both of those places have all the rapid response folks and can even get you in touch with a region if that's going to be easier than a town. If you're interested, join the team, and then you can do this work from a slightly different position, but that's not necessary, just if you want. There are power in numbers, so the more folks we have on our coalitions and teams, the better that makes it, because at the end of the day, the more folks we have in our community doing this work and having these conversations, the more we can protect one another. Other things to think about are, what does your market space look like? What is the size and the shape of the space? Is it private? Is it public? What privileges do you have because of the space that you're in? Or what restrictions? If you're on a school campus, there may be different rules than if you're on a store campus or property. If you're on a person's property, in a public place. So take a look at that. And I would suggest, if you don't already have these things, to have a drawn map of your area and the things around it, and then get familiar with what's around you. What businesses are around you? Do you already have relationships with those folks? Are they allies? Are they not allies? Are they people who say, I'd rather stay neutral? And then you know that that may not be the first person that you go to. Let's see, but I really encourage folks to talk to each other through this process. If you don't know something, ask. We've kind of lost that art as a collective over the COVID years of just walking up and talking to somebody that you haven't met before. But something tells me that all you market managers are really familiar with talking to people you've never met before. Okay, and then as you're putting together your team, it is going to be important that you have a team, and that could be 2 people or it could be 10 people, decide based on the size of your market and the people that you're working with. It might be you have 2 people in the market and 3 people in the neighborhood around you. So that way you've got a good sturdy team of people who can move into action if something pops up. But think about how you'll work with your neighbors and who else in your community could be like a quick on-call person if something pops up to support these actions. And then figure out who your contact person is going to be. Make sure that's somebody who is typically available, typically has their phone on, especially during these market hours. And having more than one person, we have found in our rapid response, is going to be easier because people get sick, people forget their phone, things happen. Having 2 people is very helpful. we really encourage person-to-person contact. It's best, like whether you're on the phone or in person or in a Zoom meet, when people are talking in this way versus on text, one, it's safer, and two, there's just so much more that happens in our person-to-person communications. Make sure in building your team that you connect with every single one of your vendors in building this, and maybe even some of your regular customers, depending on your market, because we want to make sure that all, like, let's say ICE shows up and targets one of your vendors. If you have their name and emergency contact information on hand, then you don't have to ask them that question and you can respond in the moment in a different way. So having names and emergency contact information for all of your vendors is helpful, especially because a lot of times we see people show up at markets with two or three or four people in their business, or they switch every other week. It's the other person. So we want to make sure that we have that information to protect our vendors best. And then having Spanish speaking materials and or other languages, depending on your market and the folks who come in, if they're speaking, Vietnamese or Russian or any language, to have materials about what we're talking about, like these clear cards, which this one is just English and Spanish. But we can help you get those other languages, having those available at your main tent. Red cards is the other one. So people know, hey, these are your rights. We care about them. And this is what you can do. That's also really important. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Please feel free to pop in also if you have questions about these ideas.
I do, and this may be a later topic, but when you say contact all your vendors, in a large market, I have to assume that some of my vendors might actually think that this crap is good. Most of them don't, but I don't want to. I have avoided doing a full email to all my vendors about any of these topics because I'm afraid that we might have just one person that's going to cause a lot of trouble if they know that we're organizing.
That's a great question. One of the things that we do and I don't run a market, but one of the things that we do when we're dealing with a mixed, when we don't know who all it is that we're communicating with, is we focus in a different way on, hey, we're updating all of our things. And we want to make sure for safety purposes that we have everybody's full name and emergency contact in case of any type of emergency. We see wildfires and flooding and, all of these different things in our communities. So just pulling back from the focus of protecting our communities in an immigration standpoint, which we know is very important, and just talking about this is a community space and we want to make sure everybody's safe. And as we're doing updates, this is the information that we need from you. And that's it. And keep it simple. That's a great question.
There's a question in the chat too about how do you suggest you reach out to the vendor community with helpful information without causing alarm?
So I just want to clarify, Julia, that's a great question. And before answering it, are you asking that like reaching out to them with needing this information or reaching out to them with these types of resources?
Reaching out with these resources and maybe like an action plan of what we would do if someone were to come to the market and start to take someone.
Totally, yes. And are you, sorry, I heard that the first part answered the question. The second part was you asking how to create an action plan, or you asking how to share the action plan?
How to share the action plan,
Okay.
and just let people, because I imagine I don't know if anyone in our market is in a position where they could be in danger of this. But if they are, I wouldn't want to like trigger them with this information, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So just, yeah, how to reach out with that.
So I think if we go back to the safety stuff again, these kinds of things I might keep at your market, like just on your table, so that way folks can grab them. And then in your emails, in the same vein as, because these are great questions, in the same vein as like, we're updating things for safety purposes. One of the other things, and this is up to OFMA and or your individual markets, but one idea would be doing something like, hey, we've had some harassment at some of our markets around the state recently, and we're just updating things so that way we can make sure that we know how to show up for each other. And we don't even have to name what type of harassment it is. We could just say harassment, and then because the reality is this is community. These are our communities, and people are coming in and harassing and terrorizing our communities. So just saying, like, we've had some incidents, you could use words like that. And so we're just updating some things for our farmers markets to make sure that we know how to take care of folks if and when these things pop up. That would be one idea. And I would love to meet with y'all and talk a little bit more about how that messaging could work if that doesn't feel like it fits well for your individual spot.
Okay, yeah, I'll reach out after. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And making these plans is really important. I'm just focusing today on kind of things to think about and things to look at. So that we're all kind of in the same spot as you start to build your teams. But I'm here to help you build your teams, and our team is here to help support in lots of ways. We have regional leads across the state. I was hoping to get some to join us today, but it was a tough time for meetings. But I do want you to know that those folks are still out here and can still meet with y'all in individual areas. And I'd love to get you connected to those folks as you build. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. And I see we're at 10:04. Okay. I'm going to speed through a few of these things, but still ask questions because I do want to get that. Things that also to help with these planning, power map your area. So we talked a little bit about that before, but who are your friends? Who are your allies? And who are your absolute not allies? What are the businesses to maybe not lean on versus the businesses that you can lean on? And I've got a really creative way to figure some of that out and start those conversations too. That comes a little bit later, but power mapping where your friends and allies are. And that also includes, like, maybe in your area, you have a really phenomenal GA who is an ally, who you can have communications with. So if things pop up, that's one of the things, excuse me. And then other roadblocks that you might see, just like I talked about the DA being maybe an ally, you might have, like, we have a sheriff, this is in Washington, but right across the river from where I am, who, even though they're also a sanctuary state in Washington, he outwardly makes statements saying we will support ICE and we don't care about what our sanctuary status is. As the sheriff's department, we're going to do this work. You may live in a county that is doing that. I'm not sure, but look at the roadblocks, look at who's friendly and supportive and who's not, identify your allies. And as you're planning all these things, be creative in the way that you plan and be creative in the way that you have these conversations. Let's move on to the next slide. Excuse me. Okay, we're kind of moving into the last couple bits, which are going to go pretty quick. So I'm just going to share.
I may have trouble with the sound on this video too.
Oh,
I don't know if we want to. We could give them links to this video.
Yes, we can definitely do that
another time. It's great though. You definitely watch it, everybody.
Yes, this is a 1-minute song that I work with somebody named Marta Verduzco here, and her and Arturo and myself and one other person. Arturo wrote the song with the help of a local attorney, and then oops, I lost you. Here we are. And then Marta and myself and the other person did backup vocals, and we're working on creating a video. And this is just it's literally just the know your rights information. Si la mira llega, quédate callado, inmediatamente pide un abogado. So, like, if they come, don't speak, call a lawyer, don't open your door. It's just telling people that, but in a song form, and it's $1. So I'm just going to let you know, like, it's fun. We perform it for folks in person and they have a blast. So we'll send you that link. I encourage you to listen to it. It's just 1 minute long. Even if you don't speak Spanish, that's okay. The words are right up here so that you can look them up and start to understand a little bit. And we encourage you to share this song out with anybody. This you can share on socials as well. All right. So let's see. Oh, we pushed. There we go. All right. So this is a fun little aside. And there's a lot of, I did not create this slide. They shared this with me. So I just popped it in here for you all. But this is it's a separate thing that is interwoven in the gorge. We have a group locally that started this campaign called Somos Inmigrantes, and it is about, it's after in Billings, Montana, I think it was in the 80s, there was a Jewish family that put a menorah in their window and somebody threw a brick through their window. And that family started getting harassed. And that town said, not in our town. And they came together. They bought menorahs for everybody. Everybody put them in their windows to say, not in our town, because we are all these, we are all different and we are all the same. And we are not going to stand for this kind of treatment in our community. And in that same vein, this group started Somos Inmigrantes in the Gorge to say, if you are not Native American, you come from immigrants in one way or another. Or if you aren't an actual immigrant, you come from immigrants. And so we are all the same in this way, and we need to support one another. And they have lawn signs and buttons, and our rapid response folks will wear one of the buttons to show, so that way we can identify other rapid response folks, which is really helpful. The other thing that's been really great is these are pictures at farmers markets. They come and sit at farmers markets and they have conversations with people. And they hand out these pieces. There's car flags, and they start conversations. It's been really incredible. And it's really starting to bring people who may have been maybe not really far on one side or the other, that are kind of not sure. It's bringing people together, and it's even bringing people into our groups that want to ask questions and get involved. And it's a really great way to have conversations without feeling like you're opening up a whole can of worms. And I say this to say, we have, this is open source. So all of their graphics, that's included in the links and such. All of these graphics are available. So if folks want to print these out themselves or connect with the Somos Inmigrantes campaign and say, hey, we'd love one of you to come out to our farmers market, or do a Zoom meet to teach folks how to do it at their own farmers markets. This is one really cool way to get connected with your community and have these conversations. So please reach out to me if you have questions about this, and I would love to connect you with Deanne and their team to see if that's something you can bring to your markets. All right. These are those creativity, that the song, the Somos Inmigrantes. So make up your own, make t-shirts, make zines. Zines are very popular and they stay off the internets, and that makes everybody happy when they're scanning everything with AI. All right. So all this brought together. At the end, these will all be included, I believe, in a follow-up email, but there are additional videos here for reference for folks. There are some videos around ICE harassing folks and picking people up, and different ways that things have been handled. I've included Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition, Oregon for All. Also, ACLU of Oregon is really fantastic, and they're on the ground. I'm all over the state, and their director and their folks are everywhere. So they're really, really active in this moment because they really, really want to make a change. Equity Corps of Oregon, we didn't touch on them too much, but they are legal assistance for asylum seekers, and they're a key piece of the Rapid Response Network. When people are picked up, we immediately get them enrolled, if they are not already, in Equity Corps, which then allows a lawyer to connect with them and for us to have them in our system to be able to continue to provide support. So they're another fantastic organization to keep an eye on. I have added down below some additional tools and resources that can be helpful in building your team and things to consider. There's a sanctuary toolkit that can definitely help depending on what your market looks like, especially if you're a much larger market. Know your rights responses and resources. So that's also pretty comprehensive. From Innovation Law Lab, preparing for a raid in the workplace that may or may not be appropriate for your particular market, depending on the size and shape of it. And then we've also included a no ICE allowed in workplace signs, which goes back to public and private spaces and the laws that specifically say that you can't come in here. I will say those signs may not keep them out, but the reason that we follow these rules are because once people are picked up, sometimes we can get them out on these technicalities when they're not following the rules. Not always, but it is one of the ways that we can get folks out and be able to work with them and bring more support. So these are all very important to utilize in your building of your teams. And the last thing on here, and I meant to actually include this and honestly just forgot, is the Protect Your Family packets. We encourage anybody that has children under 18 to fill these out. I've included English and Spanish links. We can get you other languages if you need, but these packets give a lot of information and are really focused on making sure that we have legal documents filled out so that if I was picked up tomorrow, that my children under 18 would be taken care of legally, which also means the state is not going to, well, they're not supposed to get involved because there is a place. And there are a couple of forms in there that you can fill out. Other ones need to be notarized. We have free notary here, and we have access to free notaries around the state if folks are interested. We encourage everybody to fill these out if they have kids, because we live in a police state. And the reality is any one of us could get picked up any day. And we want to make sure that our kids are safe and taken care of no matter what. All right. So we've talked about a whole heck of a lot of stuff. Does anybody have any more questions about any of the stuff that we've talked about?
Yeah, markets that are in public streets, that are in closed public streets, is there any instance where ICE has tried to drive into a closed street market and bring their vehicles into the market, or have they gone to the periphery of public events, or how have they invaded public events if they have?
Great question. So around the country, I'm not sure if they're driving into events like that. We've seen some instances where they're driving into like flea markets and swap meets and stuff. So it's possible. Oregon specifically, to my knowledge, we have not seen them drive into a private market as such. Our experience overall in the state of Oregon thus far is they stalk their victims. So they will, when they have a name of they definitely pick up bystanders. So that is an additional thing that happens. And they definitely racially profile and pull people over. Like that woman said in the video, this guy in the picture wasn't even the same person. There's a lot of racial profiling that's going on. What we're seeing in Oregon so far is typically the people that they're picking up, aside from the bystanders, they're coming for one or two or three, a handful of people that are specific. It doesn't mean that they have done something, particularly wrong. These are just the people they have on their radar, and they stalk them for days ahead of time. They find out their routes. They find out where they're isolated, and they usually pull them over when they are the most isolated. That is typically what we see. So in these cases, what I would assume at this moment is that they would likely pick them up on the way in or the way out of the market, and not likely come into the market because they like to avoid crowds. That can change. They can do raids, and they have spoken of doing them. So although it's not the biggest thing on our list at the moment, it's definitely on our radar. So I would just keep a really close eye around your market as well when you can, on like kind of who's around and whose vehicles are around and what's going on. And if you ever are curious, just walk up, because if it's just two people talking or a few people, you'll find that out very quickly, and you can walk away as like the nosy neighbor. You know what I mean? I don't believe that ICE has come into any of our markets in our state, Ginger. I will ask the PERC team to see if there's any information that I don't have, but I follow most of the pickups around the state. And I haven't, not that I know of, not in the recent, like last 6 months that I'm aware of, but I will definitely reconnect if there were any.
I'll jump in real quick. It's Nikita from Cultural Harvest Collective. Thanks, Amber, for the presentation. It was super helpful. I definitely want to connect with you about that really cool Yellow Days of Summer, the Samos immigrants group.
Okay.
I definitely want to connect with you about that. I'm in a really unique space. So, but I have like some also like really cool people that would, I think, love to participate and like do something like that. So yeah, I would love to connect with you further about that. I'll be emailing you.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. I look forward to it. Where are you located, Nikita?
In Monmouth.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And actually, that's one of the counties that I serve directly. So I would love to connect with you.
Super rad. I will definitely be writing you an email after this meeting. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Nikita, I was wondering if you could tell people about the fundraising project you're doing for families.
Yeah. So I put together a Polk County Families fundraiser. Being a farmers market manager in a BIPOC space, specifically farmers market, in a very, very, very rural conservative space, there are a lot of us that are genuinely concerned about our community members. So I get to attend some pretty cool meetings with a bunch of older white people who quietly organize and have been organizing. We have a rapid response team already organized. We're in connection with Park, but this cool thing that we got going on is this family community grant. So I partnered with Safe Route Immigration because we don't have like a specific nonprofit down here in Polk County that families can actually access immediate resources in case ICE were to come into Polk County. So I created something with the newest established 501c3 in Monmouth that celebrates culture and this group of individuals and with Safe Route Immigration. So basically, Safe Route Immigration offers resources, immediate resources to families regarding immigration status. They have classes, what have you not. And so for us, that's the closest like nonprofit that we can access down here. So the money that we don't use for ICE will be then transferred over to their what is it? Their civilian course classes, I believe, because that has also been derailed due to funding being cut. So there's just like this really cool effort being happening. I started it with my flowers, selling flowers at my market. And now we have city council members baking truffles, cookies. It's super rad. I'm really excited because we are hosting Western Destination. I'm sorry, I have like the worst anxiety because I do not do public speaking well. This weekend, we are hosting the Destination Western, which is this really cool event for students that are impacted by difficult environmental situations coming into college. And so basically, we have 160 students coming through. And so we have this really cool effort. Like, I have like 5 older ladies who are literally baking cookies starting today to just get community and those students particularly involved with our rapid response team down here in Polk County to also get them engaged and let them know that they have a support system out here because not all of these old white people are on that team. So it's just really cool because like we've cultivated this amazing community opportunity for people to like get FaceTime with each other. So it's been pretty awesome. And if you want to donate, go ahead and go to our link tree on the Cultural Harvest Collective Instagram. And there is a link that you can donate to.
Thank you so
Nikita,
much.
that's amazing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Amanda.
No, that's okay, Virgo.
I was just saying that's amazing. I'm really excited, and I also grew up in West Salem, so I have a particular.
That's where I live.
Is that where you live? Yeah,
that's where I live. Yep. So I'm already getting ousted by Monmouth and Independence community because I live in West Salem. But you know, it's a whole thing. We just need to be able to provide resources for our community members, and you know, if they're willing to go ahead and do it, like let's do it.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm so excited about this, and I'd love to talk to you more about that as well because I'd like to hear more about it. And yeah, this is so cool. I love watching and experiencing the creativity and the ideas that everybody comes up with around this. You know what I mean? Like there's so much happening right now. This is incredible. And what a beautiful way to support community. This is the way we're going to get through it is community building. That's it. This is what we were always meant to do.
110%.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because I know Market wanted us to hold this session because they really want to plan for that moment when ICE is at the market. But I think part of your plan should also be how else are we supporting the community? And that will be the creative and heartfelt part that is going to make you feel good having to do this work that we shouldn't have to be doing at all.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that example, Nikita. What other questions do people have?
This is less of a question, but something I shared in the Portland Market Managers group and something we talked about at the OFMA DEI committee and we talked with Amber about too, was we sometimes feel this need to be neutral and as farmers markets because of the different shoppers, because of the different vendors in the market. And of course you have to assess individually each situation and what might cause more harm, but just knowing that markets, in Oregon and what we've been trying to develop around food equity and about being inclusive spaces, and if that's clear as a part of your mission or value statements, that you might feel that you can take a stand and be more open with your vendors or your shoppers about what you're supporting because it's part of your mission and values, and and that you're not taking sides because you're just standing up for the rights of your community members. And so just kind of wanted to throw that out there. But of course, everyone has to individually assess their situation.
Yeah. I love that we're past the neutral point. I mean, really just all the way around. This is so important.
As people are dropping off, I just want to say we do have a survey, of course. We want to know how this session went, and it also has a couple dates in it that we're trying to pull people on to find when to have the next session. So we'll put that link in the chat, and please click on it and take that survey right away so we can get feedback on when to have another session. But more questions.
Hi there. I was talking with a friend who's a lawyer and was volunteering with immigration court, and he said one thing they were told was that taking up time between when ICE detains somebody and like takes them in is useful because that gives the lawyers time to get the paperwork in specifically so they couldn't be taken to Washington. So he was saying things like traffic jams or like whatever you can do just to slow them down. That is a good move.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great move. And those are the ways that we can get creative too. I know that there have been places that have allies and tow truck drivers. So when they see these vehicles parked in funky places, they come tow their vehicles. I know that some people, and I'm not saying this is the way to go, I'm saying these are things that we've witnessed. Some people are like, well, because nobody wants to do violence, things like looks like they got a nail in a tire, looks like there's somebody parked right in front of them that they can't get out. You said traffic jams, and that's why I was thinking of these things to kind of keep their vehicles, because we don't want to ever hurt people, right? We're not here to do anything like that. That's actually the tactic of the other side. Our side is like, no, we actually really want everybody to stay safe. So how we can be creative to block them, to keep them out. Maybe a car breaks down right at the, in our town, we have 3 exits to get on and off the freeway. And it's a lot longer to go around the other way over the mountain. So like, oh, oops, somebody broke down right on the freeway on ramp. We can't get through there. That sucks. Bummer. But those are really creative ways though, to get those things happening. And I love that.
I think farmers market managers know a lot about vendor gridlock and cars coming. How you can keep people from not being able to get in and out of the market space inadvertently. They've experienced it.
And that can be our friends.
Yeah. There's a question in the chat. Do we see more enforcement in mornings or evenings? How about weekends?
Yes, that's a great question. So we talked about not seeing so much in the evenings. We don't see a lot of enforcement in the evenings. That can change. Currently, the most enforcement we see, they like to get folks early in the morning. So we had some folks, for example, taken in July, and one was on the way to work and the other one had just dropped their child off at school and driven from the school where there were a lot of people just a few blocks down the road to a slightly isolated area, and they took them. And that's the stalking thing we talk about, is they know where to pick people up. But that's another reason why get involved if something seems off. Trust your intuition, because the worst that's going to happen is you're going to like roll up or walk up and say something, and it's going to be people that know each other and it's no big deal and you're going to go about your day. That's what we want. But if you see something off, check with them, because mornings, I would say the most often is between 6 and 12, but I would not rule out afternoons. Mornings are the most, because then they can pick folks up when they're not expecting it. They're still waking up. They're in the middle of a routine that they're not really looking around them, because we're often in autopilot in the mornings, and because they can get them to where they want to take them before the end of the day. That's a great question. Go ahead.
How about weekends?
We definitely see enforcement on weekends as well. We see people being kidnapped on weekends as well as weekdays. It's more often during the weekdays, but we definitely will not rule out weekends, especially mornings on the weekends.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I saw somebody with a question up above, and we were talking through about picking up a vendor during setup and takedown. Absolutely. They would absolutely do that. They would also pick up a vendor pulling in the parking lot before they've even gotten out, or on the way to, or on the way home. Yeah. The only thing that I think would make them hesitate about a market is how many people are around. So that's why keeping an eye on what's going on around us, including, like the sidewalks or space just around, is also important when we have capacity.
Well, we're at 10:30, and I want to thank everybody for being here. It was so good to see such a great group of people coming to this. We will have a recording and more links to send you and more resources. And as I said, we're going to be scheduling another session where after you've worked on your plans a little, you can get some Q&A time with Amber and some other legal experts too.
Yeah. And I was thinking, if it's okay, as we sign off, I'll just share and put that song on in the background so people that want to hear it can hear it.
Yeah, sounds great.
So I also want to say thank you for allowing me the time and the space, and thank you for coming here in your morning and being here with us. This is such an important subject, but I know we all have so much going on right now. So I really appreciate you and all the efforts each of you are putting into this, and I look forward to working with more of you.
Si la migra llega, quédate callado e inmediatamente pide un abogado. No les sirves nada, tampoco les mientas, pero sobre todo no abras la puerta. Tienes el derecho a un abogado, tienes el derecho a quedarte callado, tienes el derecho a no abrir la puerta. Si llega la migra, tente alerta. Si la migra llega, quédate callado e inmediatamente pide un abogado. No les sirves nada, tampoco les mientas, pero sobre todo no abras la puerta. Tienes el derecho a un abogado, tienes el derecho a quedarte callado, tienes el derecho a no abrir la puerta. Si llega la migra, mantente alerta. Tienes el derecho a un abogado, tienes el derecho a quedarte callado, tienes el derecho a no abrir la puerta. Si llega